World War II is considered to be one of the darkest times in human history. An estimated 60 to 85 million people lost their lives. America served as one of the major powers with over 16 million men and women serving in the American Armed Forces. Today, we think as veterans of World War II as those who helped out on the home front and old-timers, our great-grandpas. But in reality, they were 18 years old. They were high schoolers, valedictorians, football players, musicians, just like today, although they had the responsibility of ridding the world of evil. The home front had many tolls on the American people to conserve and produce more food. The Food for Victory campaign was launched, and eating leftovers became a patriotic duty, and civilians were urged to grow their own vegetables and fruits. Millions of these victory gardens were planted and maintained by ordinary citizens, appearing in backyards, vacant lots, and public parks. They produced over 1 billion tons of food.
Americans during the war were extremely passionate about doing their part. It was essential that even if you weren't in the service, that you were still somehow serving your country. Throughout schools, people would display posters or show off other propaganda that had been used to help people fight for their country and win it further home. Even if you were at home, you still felt as if you were contributing with everything you had.
High schoolers were very active during the span of the war. They organized victory gardens to help with the rationing crisis, salvage drives where scrap metal would be collected to help out in the war factories, and PE classes were converted into drill sessions to see what life in the service would be like, although many of the boys were actually in the real armed forces. One of the most popular wartime activities for students on the home front was to have fundraisers to build school-sponsored B-17 bombers. New Trier even had one titled The Spirit of New Trier. The B-17 was a 4-engine bomber manned by a 10-man crew. Nicknamed the Flying Fortress, it was the standard long-range bomber for the American Army Air Corps. Classrooms also would have class curriculums that would focus on the war to help measure our progress. Many schools, including New Trier, would make scrapbooks or establish a section in the yearbook for staff and students who were in the war. New Trier includes the names of more than 200 students, their correspondence, units, and other general military information. People of the home front were also subject to rationing. During the war, the American people were subject to everyday items being rationed. They included clothes, food, gasoline, rubber, electricity, and any other items that would be used at home as well as in the military. There were no exceptions. Even if you were wealthy, you could not buy your way out of it. Even children were subjected to it. Although one of the harsh realities of war, Americans were eager to do their part in helping their country to win the war, especially high schoolers. As well as rationing, Americans were subject to blackouts and other military-type procedures. Blackout drills would be practiced at night and would be organized by the civilians of the community. They would be a representation of what an enemy airstrike would be like, and in the city's defense, they would black out all the lights. This would be organized by an air raid warden. He would be a civilian volunteer. He could be any age, any race, any gender. Most of the time, high schoolers would volunteer for this role. In addition to helping out at home, high schoolers made up a large amount of the U.S. military during the war. During the war, you had to be 18 or older to enlist. 17-year-olds could do it if their parents gave consent, which was often the case, and hundreds of thousands lied about their age so they could join. 3,000 New Trier staff, students, and alumni served in World War II, with 150 of the students giving their lives. These men put their education on hold to do the right thing. Could you imagine these numbers if it happened today? I doubt they would be as high. New Trier students were tankers, infantrymen, pilots, sailors, Marines, and any other job that the United States Army needed filled.